Overthinking is exhausting. It keeps us awake at night, replays conversations that are already over, and drags our minds into futures that have not yet arrived. Many of us smile on the outside, yet inside we are fighting battles known. One can see fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. We plan, we worry, we calculate every possible outcome, and still the heart remains restless. But ask yourself honestly, how much of what you overthought actually changed the outcome? How many problems were solved simply by worrying about them? Most of the time, overthinking does not protect us, it drains us. It convinces us that everything depends solely on our strength, our intelligence, our control. And that is where the burden becomes unbearable, because the human heart was never created to carry the weight of the entire world alone. This is where Tawakkul begins. True reliance is not about giving up effort. It is about giving up the illusion that you are alone. You do what you can with sincerity and responsibility, and then you place the outcome in the hands of the one who sees what you cannot see, who knows what you do not know, and who plans with wisdom far beyond your understanding. When the heart truly learns this, something remarkable happens. Overthinking slowly loosens its grip. When you trust that what is written for you will never miss you, and what is not meant for you will never reach you, the heart finds room to breathe. Anxiety softens. Fear loses its power. Stress no longer controls your decisions. You begin to walk through life with calm determination, knowing that you are guided, protected, and never abandoned. And in that moment, you realize overthinking ends when true reliance begins. One of the deepest causes of overthinking is the illusion of control. The human mind constantly tries to predict, manage, and secure outcome, believing that peace will come once everything is figured out. Yet this mindset quietly exhausts the heart. When a person assumes that every result depends entirely on their planning, intelligence, or effort, they unknowingly place a burden on themselves that they were never designed to carry. This is where anxiety grows. The mind keeps running because it believes stopping would mean failure, loss, or danger. Overthinking, in reality, is not a sign of intelligence. It is often a sign of fear disguised as preparation. True reliance changes this internal struggle completely. Tawakkul does not remove responsibility. It redefines it. A person still plans, works, and strives, but their heart is no longer chained to the outcome. They understand that effort is their duty, but results belong to the one who controls all affairs. This shift may seem subtle, but it is life-changing. The heart stops arguing with destiny. Instead of constantly asking, what if this goes wrong? It gently reminds itself, whatever happens is not random. This belief brings emotional stability, even before circumstances improve. Overthinking thrives when the mind imagines worst-case scenarios without acknowledging divine wisdom. The future becomes a dark tunnel filled with fear because the person sees only their own limited perspective. Tawakkul introduces light into that tunnel. It teaches the heart that even what appears negative may carry hidden mercy. Sometimes a door closing is protection. Sometimes a delay is preparation. Sometimes a loss is a lesson that saves a person from a greater harm they never saw coming. When the heart believes this, it stops fighting reality and starts trusting the process. Many people assume that trusting means being passive, but this misunderstanding keeps them trapped. True reliance actually strengthens action. A heart anchored in Tawakkul works harder, not less, because it is no longer paralyzed by fear of failure. It understands that success is not defined by results alone, but by sincerity and effort. When fear is removed, clarity enters. Decisions become calmer. Sleep becomes deeper. The mind is no longer racing because it knows it is not alone in carrying the weight of tomorrow. Anxiety often comes from replaying the past and fearing the future. Tawakkul pulls the heart back into the present moment. It reminds the believer that today is all that is required of them. Yesterday has passed with its lessons. And tomorrow is already known to the one who controls time itself. When a person internalizes this, regret loses its grip and fear loses its voice. The heart learns to say, I did my best and I trust what comes next. That sentence alone can silence thousands of restless thoughts. Another powerful aspect of reliance is knowing that divine care is personal. It is not distant or abstract. Every struggle, every tear, every silent worry is seen and acknowledged. Overthinking often comes from feeling unseen or unsupported. Tawakkul replaces that loneliness with certainty. A person realizes that even when no one understands their pain, it is still known. Even when answers do not arrive immediately, they are not forgotten. This awareness brings comfort that no amount of planning ever could. Stress decreases when the heart accepts that not everything needs an immediate solution. Some problems resolve with time, others resolve with patience. And some resolve simply by surrendering them. Tawakkul teaches the heart when to act and when to release. This balance is where peace lies. Without it, the mind either rushes recklessly or freezes completely. With it, the person moves steadily, confidently, and calmly through uncertainty. When reliance becomes real, overthinking no longer feels necessary. The heart understands that excessive worry does not bring safety, trust does. Control is replaced with confidence in divine wisdom. Fear is replaced with hope. Stress is replaced with acceptance. Life does not suddenly become free of challenges, but the heart becomes strong enough to carry them without breaking. And that is the true freedom. Tawakkul offers the freedom from being imprisoned by your own thoughts. Overthinking often survives because the heart believes it must see the full picture before it can feel safe. The mind keeps asking endless questions, trying to predict every outcome. Because uncertainty feels threatening. Fear whispers that if you are not constantly alert, something will go wrong. This is why anxiety is so loud in moments of silence. When there is nothing left to plan, the mind begins to worry. It imagines futures that have not arrived and burdens that may never come. In this state, the heart forgets a powerful truth. Human vision is limited, but divine knowledge is complete. Tawakkul gently corrects this imbalance. It teaches the heart that not knowing everything is not a weakness. It's part of being human. When a person accepts this, the pressure to constantly analyze disappears. They realize that clarity is not always immediate, and guidance does not always arrive in the form they expect. Sometimes it comes as patience, sometimes as redirection, sometimes as calm in the middle of confusion. Trusting this process brings a sense of safety that logic alone can never provide. Fear thrives on the assumption that harm is random and uncontrolled. Tawakkul replaces this fear with certainty that nothing unfolds without purpose. This does not mean every hardship feels easy, but it means it feels meaningful. When the heart believes there is wisdom behind every test, it stops panicking and starts enduring. Anxiety loses its urgency because the heart no longer sees suffering as pointless. Instead, it understands that growth, purification, and elevation often come wrapped in discomfort. Stress also intensifies when people compare their timelines to others. Overthinking grows when someone believes they are falling behind, missing out, or failing because their life does not look like someone else. Tawakkul frees the heart from this comparison. It reminds a person that their path is uniquely designed. What arrives late may be protecting them. What arrives early may be a responsibility they were prepared for. When a person trusts that their timing is intentional, jealousy fades and contentment grows. Another layer of fear comes from attachment to outcomes. People tell themselves, if this does work, I will be ruined. Or if I lose this, I will never recover. Tawakkul softens this attachment. It teaches that no single event defines a person as worth or future. The heart learns that doors close so better ones can open, even if it cannot see them yet. This belief does not remove disappointment, but it prevents despair. The person grieves, but they do not collapse. They hope, even while healing. Overthinking often steals the present moment. The body may be in one place, but the mind is constantly elsewhere. Tawakkul brings the heart back. It teaches that peace is found in obedience, gratitude, and presence, not in predicting tomorrow. When a person focuses on what is required of them now, the mind quiets. They begin to experience small moments of peace that accumulate into emotional strength. Life feels lighter, not because problems disappear, but because the heart stops carrying them all at once. Fear also weakens when a person remembers that help can arrive from unexpected places. Tawakkul trains the heart to expect goodness, even when circumstances appear dark. This expectation itself is a form of worship. It changes how a person interprets delays and difficulties. Instead of seeing them as signs of abandonment, they see them as moments of preparation. Instead of assuming the worst, they wait with hope. This hope becomes an anchor during storms of uncertainty. When trust takes root, stress no longer dictates reactions. The person becomes less reactive and more reflective. They pause before panicking. They pray before despairing. They seek guidance instead of spiraling into fear. Overthinking loses its power because the heart has learned where to turn when it feels overwhelmed. And in that turning, the heart finds calm. Not because every answer is known, but because it trusts the one who knows them all. One of the most damaging effects of overthinking is how it disconnects the heart from serenity. When the mind is constantly racing, the heart is never at rest. Thoughts stack upon thoughts. Worries pile on worries. And slowly, inner peace feels like a distant memory. A person may be surrounded by comfort, safety, and even blessings, yet still feel unsettled within. This is because overthinking does not respond to reality. It responds to fear. It convinces the heart that danger is always near, even when there is no immediate threat. When the heart is disconnected from calm, even small challenges feel overwhelming. A minor delay feels like failure. A simple mistake feels like disaster. Overthinking magnifies everything. It turns possibilities into certainties and whispers lies that feel convincing. The heart begins to feel heavy, restless, and constantly alert, as though it is always bracing for impact. Over time, this state becomes exhausting, both emotionally and spiritually. The person may function outwardly, but inwardly they are drained. Tawakkul restores the connection between the heart and serenity by reminding the soul where safety truly lies. Peace does not come from controlling every variable. It comes from knowing who controls them. When the heart turns toward reliance, it stops demanding certainty from the future and starts finding comfort in the present. It learns that calm is not the absence of problems, but the presence of trust. This realization slowly untangles the knots created by overthinking. Overthinking isolates a person within their own mind. They replay scenarios alone, fight imaginary battles alone, and carry silent fears alone. Tawakkul breaks this isolation. It reconnects the heart to divine companionship. The person realizes they are not navigating life by themselves. Every concern can be shared, every fear can be placed down, and every weakness can be acknowledged without shame. This sense of being supported brings emotional relief that logic alone cannot achieve. Another way overthinking disrupts serenity is by eroding gratitude. When the mind is focused on what might go wrong, it loses sight of what is already right. Blessings become background noise, overshadowed by imagined problems. Tawakkul gently redirects attention. It trains the heart to notice what is present rather than obsess over what is missing. Gratitude then becomes a stabilizing force. The heart feels grounded, anchored in appreciation instead of drifting in anxiety. The heart also loses serenity when it constantly resists reality. Overthinking argues with what has already happened. It asks endless, if only, questions and rewrites the past in painful ways. Tawakkul teaches acceptance without bitterness. It reminds the heart that what has passed cannot be undone, but it can be understood, learned from, and released. This acceptance is not weakness, it is strength. It allows the heart to move forward without dragging unnecessary weight behind it. Serenity is further disturbed when the heart feels rushed. Overthinking creates a false urgency, convincing a person that everything must be solved immediately. Tawakkul slows the heart down. It teaches patience, reminding the soul that not all answers are meant to come at once. Some clarity arrives with time, and some wisdom arrives through waiting. When the heart accepts this, it stops racing and starts resting. There is also a spiritual fatigue that comes from constant mental noise. Overthinking leaves little room for reflection, remembrance, or prayer. The heart becomes crowded. Tawakkul clears this space. By placing worries in the hands of the Creator, the heart makes room for connection. This connection itself is a source of deep serenity. It brings a quiet confidence that remains even when circumstances are unstable. When serenity returns, life feels different. The same challenges may exist, but they no longer dominate the heart. The person becomes calmer in their responses, softer in their reactions, and more hopeful in their outlook. Overthinking no longer defines their inner world. Trust does. And in that trust, the heart finds the peace it was always searching for, not by escaping reality, but by facing it with faith. Many people misunderstand reliance, assuming that trusting means doing nothing, waiting without effort, or surrendering responsibility. This misunderstanding often pushes people away from tawakkul because they fear it will make them weak, lazy, or unproductive. In reality, true reliance is the opposite. It is deeply active. It requires effort, discipline, intention, and courage. Tawakkul is not about abandoning action. It is about anchoring action in faith rather than fear. Overthinking often comes from believing that effort alone guarantees results. When a person works hard yet still feels anxious, it is usually because their heart is attached to outcomes rather than principles. They feel that if something goes wrong, it means they failed or were not good enough. Tawakkul corrects this belief. It teaches that effort is required, but outcomes are not a reflection of personal worth. A person is accountable for sincerity and action, not for controlling how events unfold. Active trust begins with doing what is within your capacity. You plan, you prepare, you seek advice, you work honestly, and you strive with excellence. But once you have done your part, you do not torture yourself with endless what-ifs. You do not replay every possible failure in your mind. You release the result. This release is not neglect, it is confidence. Confidence that the one guiding your steps knows where they are leading. Passive surrender says, I will do nothing and blame destiny. Active trust says, I will give my best and trust destiny. The difference is profound. One avoids responsibility, the other fulfills it with peace. Tawakkul gives the heart stability during effort. Even while striving, the person remains calm because they know that success and failure are both part of a larger wisdom. This calm allows clearer thinking, better decisions, and healthier persistence. Overthinking weakens action because it overwhelms the mind. A person may want to move forward but feels paralyzed by fear of making the wrong choice. Tawakkul breaks this paralysis. It teaches that mistakes are not the end of the road. Even missteps can be guided toward good. When a person believes this, they stop waiting for perfect certainty and start moving with trust. Progress becomes possible again. Active reliance also builds resilience. When setbacks occur, the person does not collapse emotionally. They feel disappointment, but they are not destroyed by it. They reflect, learn, adjust, and continue. Tawakkul reminds them that a closed door is not rejection, it may be redirection. This mindset transforms failure from a source of shame into a source of growth. Overthinking fades because the heart no longer sees every challenge as a threat to its identity. Another aspect of active trust is patience with effort. Tawakkul does not promise immediate results. It promises meaningful results. Overthinking often comes from impatience, wanting answers now, relief now, success now. Tawakkul trains the heart to remain steady even when progress feels slow. It teaches that consistency matters more than speed, and sincerity matters more than recognition. This patience protects the heart from burnout and despair. Active trust also refines intention. When a person relies on the Creator, they stop seeking validation from people. Their effort becomes more sincere, less performative. They work because it is right, not because they are desperate for approval. This freedom lightens the heart. Overthinking often feeds on the fear of judgment. Tawakkul quiets that fear by reminding the person who truly matters. Stress decreases. When a person understands that effort itself is rewarded, regardless of outcome. Tawakkul allows a person to work hard without being consumed by results. They can rest without guilt and strive without panic. Balance enters their life. The mind no longer swings between obsession and exhaustion. Instead, it moves with purpose and calm. In this way, Tawakkul becomes a source of strength, not passivity. It empowers action while protecting the heart. It encourages responsibility while removing fear. And when trust becomes active, overthinking loses its foundation. The heart learns to move forward with courage, grounded in effort and wrapped in peace, knowing that whatever unfolds is never beyond divine wisdom. When true reliance settles into the heart, it brings with it a promise that is subtle yet powerful, inner calm. This calm does not mean life becomes free of hardship, nor does it mean emotions disappear. Rather, it means the heart is no longer constantly shaken by every uncertainty. Overthinking loses its intensity because the heart has found a place to rest. That resting place is trust in divine wisdom, timing, and care. Inner calm begins when the heart accepts that what is meant for it will arrive, and what is not meant for it will never stay. This belief alone dissolves much of the fear that fuels overthinking. The mind no longer feels the need to chase every possibility or cling to every outcome. And it understands that life is not a race against loss, but a journey guided with purpose. When this understanding deepens, the heart stops gripping so tightly and begins to relax. Tawakkul also calms the heart by reshaping how it responds to uncertainty. Instead of panicking, the heart learns to pause. Instead of spiraling, it turns toward prayer and reflection. This shift does not happen overnight, but with consistency, it transforms the inner landscape. The person becomes less reactive and more grounded. Situations that once caused sleepless nights now inspire thoughtful patience. The mind may still think, but it no longer overthinks. Fear weakens when trust strengthens. Much of anxiety comes from imagining a future where everything falls apart. Tawakkul replaces this fear with hope, not blind optimism, but a deep confidence that even if things do not unfold as planned, they will unfold with meaning. This confidence allows the heart to face challenges without collapsing under them. Calm emerges not because the future is predictable, but because it is entrusted. Another source of calm is knowing that divine help is always near. Tawakkul nurtures a sense of closeness that soothes the heart. The person no longer feels abandoned in their struggles. They know that every hardship is seen, every effort is valued, and every tear is counted. This awareness reduces emotional loneliness, which is often at the core of overthinking. When the heart feels supported, it stops screaming for control. Stress also diminishes when the heart learns to release what it cannot change. Tawakkul teaches discernment, knowing when to act and when to let go. Overthinking often comes from trying to manage the unmanageable. Trust allows the heart to surrender those matters without guilt. This surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It preserves energy for what truly matters and protects the heart from unnecessary strain. Inner calm grows as the heart aligns itself with acceptance. Resistance fuels anxiety, while acceptance brings peace. Tawakkul does not mean liking every outcome, but it means accepting that every outcome carries purpose. This acceptance softens disappointment and prevents bitterness. The heart still feels pain, but it does not become trapped in it. Healing becomes possible. As calm increases, Gratitude becomes more natural. The heart begins to notice blessings it once overlooked. Simple moments feel richer. Silence feels safer. The present moment becomes livable again. Overthinking often steals the now by dragging the mind into imagined futures. Tawakkul gently returns the heart to where it belongs here and now. This inner calm also reflects outwardly. A person becomes kinder, more patient, and more composed. Their words soften, their reactions slow. They no longer spread their anxiety to others. Instead, they carry a quiet strength that reassures those around them. This calm becomes a form of guidance, a silent reminder that peace is possible even in uncertainty. In the end, the promise of inner calm is not the absence of storms, but the presence of an anchor. Tawakkul becomes that anchor. It holds the heart steady when waves of fear, stress, and anxiety rise. Overthinking fades because trust takes its place. And in that trust, the heart discovers a peace that is not dependent on circumstances, but rooted in faith.